Hello, everyone. This is Marita, one who catches lightning, with the Path of Ish podcast, Walking with Our Shadow, where we share ancient indigenous teachings of remembrance, all so we can walk and learn how to walk a path of radical self-love. Welcome, everyone. This is Marita, one who catches lightning, with the Path of Ish. We are here to record and to be in the circle with you. It's an opportunity to have a conversation again. As we continue this podcast about walking with our shadow, today we're going to sit with an opportunity to remember. Recently, I was speaking to some elders and they brought up an interesting wording of something that I'm just so familiar with that sometimes you just forget to communicate. And this is how Indigenous people have a tendency to relate to themselves as what body of water, what mountain they come from, what tree is around them. And so the important thing about this is that it relates to land immediately. We are land, we are connected, our family is connected. And so when we do our family trees, it's a little bit different. Our family trees, when it comes for Indigenous people, include the rivers and the mountains and the streams that we were created in and from. So today I want to bring that conversation and that way of beingness into this podcast episode of Walking with Our Shadow, so that your I am consciousness includes all of that, which is an Indigenous way of I am consciousness. So let us take our 3 breaths today. And we take these 3 breaths, right? This is a practice by the Path of Ish called the Ik breath work. And this is our simple breath work that we've done for the last couple of years here. And these breaths are an invitation, right? We're asking ourselves, our parts, our body, our mind, and our essence to come of their own free will and choice to you, to be here now. And so we take the time to breathe life, and that life is an invitation for you to come of your own free will and choice to this conversation, to this reality, to being present now. So let us take our 3 breaths. In and out through the nose. Calling our mind into this time, into this place. In and out through the nose. Calling our body into this time, into this place, right? Of its own free will and choice. In and out through the nose. Calling our essence to join us of its own free will and choice to be here now. Once they agree to that, we then are working as a team. We're present. So as we are present with our beingness, we start our conversation. So let us begin. Let us welcome, in our tradition, as we do here at Walking with Our Shadow, we open the directions. We have a conversation with the directions. We ask the directions to hold this conversation, to create spaciousness, right? And we use circle, as many native people use circle, because it allows us to have all our parts there, all of possibility, all of our baggage, all the things of who we are, the 400 possibilities, as we talk about on the diaspora of, the Maya, as well as Toltec, Zapotec, and Hawaiian teachings, the number 400 is sacred because it's infinity. And circle can hold infinite possibilities and manifestations of who you are in the time and the space now. Not just past, present, future, but now, the 400 iterations of who you are. We should probably do a whole podcast on that. And so let us approach this circle as we do in tradition. And approach these directions in their 400 possibilities, or infinity possibilities of beingness. So let us approach the east, the south, the west, and the north. And as we approach these directions, we're asking them to hold circleness for us. We're asking them to hold potential impossibility. We're asking them to hold now this possible conversation. And our conversation is, I am water, I am land. And now that the circle is inviting us, we enter in the east, we sit down, right? We sit down and we enter into the space of a new conversation. We ask Mother Earth for the root, that to which we have earned. So, what is our relationship with Mother Earth? How are we in relation? How have we given back? How much blood, sweat, and tears has gone into us working with her, in relationship with her, in deep relationship? This is beyond just recycling. But have you planted a seed? Have you nurtured it? Have you grown it? Very different relationship than using poison and pesticides and keeping a green lawn and calling that gardening. That's not giving back to Mother Earth. That's giving back to a societal idea that you've been colonized by, that you're supposed to have this lawn. So this is a different ask, and we're taking a lot of time to get into the circle to explain little things that I usually don't explain, to give you the opportunity to open up to a different possibility of what I am saying, and not just assume we come from the same place or are speaking the same language. I would rather meet you in difference than in commonality, because then we all learn. So once we allow ourselves to receive that root, which we have earned, we have worked towards, we have worked on our relationship, we ask for a sky root. Let's ask one from the sun today. Since we're going to be talking about where I come from, worshippers of sun. And with that, we unite the three planes above, below, and on this plane where we reside. And with that, we open up this circle and this conversation as this podcast. So let us continue. Let's talk about where we are from, right? That is a question that is out there in the world, that is out there, and many people speak about it. Usually, when you ask someone where they're from, they will tell you a city. Now, a city gives you location, but what it's telling you is that their philosophy, their colonization, their way of beingness is related to something that man has created. I come from Chicago. I come from Paris. These are cities, right? I come from Melbourne. Now, when you say them in the global consciousness are, this is something built by humans. We don't go to an indigenous mindset unless you are indigenous, where you're like, these are the places of these rivers, right? Or these lakes. Chicago, Lake Michigan. I come from Lake Michigan. The shores of Lake Michigan would be the indigenous way, relating to a body of water. Right, Melbourne would relate to the sea and ocean that is, and it could even relate. You can get even more specific and say, I'm from the volcanic area. I'm forgetting the name of the volcano next to the estuary of this, right? That is my land, because my land is my body. This is what formed me. Paris, we all know the amazing waterways in Paris, and you could relate to yourself in indigenous ways. I was created from the Seine. Now, if I was introducing myself, I could introduce myself in two ways. Where am I from? Which then I clarify where was I born? And I could tell you La Ciudad de Mexico, right? Mexico City. And that would be a very easy way because you could find out on a map and then you're going to try to find commonality. But if I tell you an indigenous way, I would tell you I'm from Tenochtitlan. Tenochtitlan is the place of the prickly pear growing among the rocks, and my body of water is the lake Texcoco. So in my imagery, in my beingness, I don't have in my mind the 20 million populated city that has so many buildings and so many people. That's one image, right? But the other image is really of this prophecy being fulfilled, where finally a priest found this image that was told to build a city to the gods when they found a serpent eating a snake on a cactus, and they did that, and it was the nopal. And when the nopal saw that and saw these people coming, it laid itself down and created the island which they built the city on, this floating city. I want you to take a moment and just try that for yourself. Where do you come from? And if you have a city, look up the closest body of water or mountain or volcano or gorge, anything natural that would really define the place. And start trying to say, I am from, or I am, and use that name of that river, that gorge, that ocean, that mountain. And how does that feel in your body? When your body, your idea of beingness connects in a word that you come from land. So let's take our 3 breaths and let's see how our body, our mind, and our essence are doing in and out through our nose. And let's just really check into our body. Now, whenever I say body, I hold my heart. How is my body resonating with the land and the waters inside when I say I am from the place of the cactus among the rocks? In and out through the nose. Essence, I always come down to my solar plexus. Right? The seat of wisdom, right? The seat of how you're putting yourself out there. First, second, third chakra all working, right? Your base of creation. It's where you breathe the most, right? Singers are if you've ever taken singing voice lessons, they're always talking about that area to bring air into that. And air is life. And the lungs are the last thing developed, right, in the body. And so when you breathe air, that spirit, that is the animation of the human body. So, essence. In and out through the nose, bringing the mind into this time, into this place. With all three combined again, checking in, how does that make you feel mentally, emotionally, physically? When you change saying, I'm from Chicago, to I am from the shores of Lake Michigan. And then take the next step, I am from the people created on the shores of Lake Michigan. And you can even take then a step further. The people, I am the sand in relationship to the water of the Lake of Michigan, the Great Lake that rises and falls, the place of the rainbow trout, who are my family as well. And then just take another breath and let that sink in. Okay, muy bien. Now, if this were a class, then we'd open up the circle and people would share. But this is not a class, it's a podcast episode. It's just one way of communicating. Many people in this world, based on what they tell me, right? People have a tendency of telling certain people certain things, right? And certain people, because they hold certain medicine, bring out certain things in other individuals. You would tell one person one thing that you would never tell anyone else, right? Kind of that situation. One of the conversations a lot of people have with me is that of displacement. I am feeling lost. Where are my people? And maybe it's because I'm indigenous and Jewish Sephardim. Maybe it's because I'm an immigrant. Maybe it's because I hold that wandering in myself. Or maybe it's because I am in tune with my body of land of where I come from that formed me, and that formed me through my life. For I have not stayed in one place. And I could relate my whole lifetime to the bodies of water that formed me. The lake in Mexico, the Great Lakes, and the Pacific. Great bodies of water that reflect the great bodies of water in me. And because I have that relationship, people without that relationship talk about their lack. And many people, I teach this ancestor class, and many people think that they'll send me emails before and be like, oh, I don't know who my people are or who I come from. And I said, we don't teach it that way. We teach it on an elemental basis, the elements, earth, fire, wind, water, and how native traditions and people would call them by their own name and have that relationship. The class is amazing. I highly recommend you take it next time it's out. There's also recordings of it. So just reach out to me if you're interested. The reason we do that is we recognize that at our core, we are elements. Therefore, ¿cómo se dice? The interaction and relationship between elements is what creates us, right? That's true, scientifically. Part of our interaction is not just within our body, but that of our environment. And our environment, right? Our aina, our land, supports us, right? Why? Because if we were born on that land, that means our parents ate from that land, whether they hunted, they fished, they ate vegetables. That land created you. Those waterways that gave them water created you. It's the sustenance, right? That they ate, that they build houses with, right? Or had shelter that allowed for you to be created, that allowed for you to be supported, to be fed, to be nurtured. So when we walk away, right, or when we disclose and when we peel away the level of this romanticized philosophy of, oh, you're indigenous and you belong to your mountain and your mountain created you, and you think of this, in your sense, myth means fiction. There's something very pragmatic, very real about this in this time, this dimension, in this space. So today we're having this conversation to show you how this concept, right, is a very basic concept. That it's not just a poetic concept that you are land and water, right? You are the elements, you are fire, you are wind, you are all these things. It's not a poetic concept, right? There's a biological component to it. And there's an environment, right? Nurture and nature. Your nature, the nature around you, the trees and everything like that nurtures you, not just humans. And they allow the space for you to grow to you. This earth feeds you. This earth gives you sun and water and food. You come from it. You depend on it. You are so interdependent upon it that you would die if you did not rely on it. The earth doesn't need us. We need the earth. And if we can start acknowledging this in small ways, then we're going to start breaking up these colonized ideas in our head of being humans from human-made cities. Yes, humans got together to form you, but they're also the elements, and they're fed and homed and housed by the nature around them. Everything on this planet has been created and lives through an extraction of Mother Nature. It's beautiful to romanticize these things. And in the tradition of that I learned, right, from, the British Isles, the idea of being a poet, right? If you weren't born king, right, you didn't have a place to rise up to king, right? But you could study and work really hard and apprentice to become a poet. And poets in these lineages, as I was taught, were the highest that you can get next to a quote unquote king. This was the imagery used when someone from the British Isles was teaching me, an elder there. We were having a conversation about this, about talking story and how we are all story. And so poetry, though, then told the story of place and people to remind them who they were during exploitation, during their land being taken, during all of that. So it was also a sign and form of remembering and revolution, because remembrance is revolutionary. To remember is to revolt against the conditionings of the society that you has been imposed upon you, and their value system, and their idea that you are human made. So today, that's why we are revolting. This is the revolution of land, of claiming that we belong to it. Because if we can claim that relationship, and this is not saying claiming I own the land, claiming I come from it, I belong to it. It's like I tell one of my cats, that people are like, oh, that cat is yours. I'm like, no, 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 I belong to that cat. I know that very much. So I belong to that cat. And the same thing when it comes to you in your creation story. It's not this idea, Western idea of you own the land. And when you talk about you come from a city, that is humans taking over. When you talk about coming from the rivers and the lakes, you are associating yourself as someone born, nurtured by these places. And the relationship is very different. And to be of nature, a child of nature, means that you are rebelling against the post-industrialized society of colonization, where you just become a number. You become value based on productivity. And people think that the whole system has to break to revolt, or that revolution has to be picketing and stuff like that. You do you. But the largest revolution that can happen is in the reclamation and then the remembering that you are a child of this earth, that you could not exist without Mother Nature. Hence, we call her Mother Nature, the mothering of nature. You could not exist without the mothering of nature. And as my good friend Perdita Finn says, that's what we need. We need mothering right now. And mothering doesn't have to come from a quote unquote cisgendered female. Mothering is a way of being in relationship. The earth has mothered us, claims us as one of its beings, and we continuously reject it in Western colonized culture. We continuously are in this weird rebellion. It's the humanity is in its teenage years for thousands of years of us being better or us not needing it. Right? I'm going to leave. I'm going to go do my thing. But I really truly feel that we are in the part of when we go back home. So let's go back together. And it can be as easy as remembering the nature that you come from, the actual physical nature that has supported you and your life, your family. Thank you, birds. If we take that step, then our whole viewpoint of a dominant society shifts. It's a leap of faith if you come from a colonized society, because it means you have to leave your value set behind. But what holds and greets you is a potential for a long-lived, deep life of beingness and relationship with Mother Nature, with Earth as your mother, mothering, being mothered by her, and you mothering back. Long and deep. I'm not talking about years here. So many people tell me that they're looking for their people or their home, or they feel a loss. I recently did ¿cómo se dice? Una ceremonia in Melbourne, and we did First Nation stories of creation. And so many people were like, oh my God, I found parts of myself in all of these stories. And all of these stories talked about the elements. The god of winds and the god of waters, right? And their movement and their relationship and the trees and this and that and the skies and everything. And everything had a name, and everything came together in relationship to create. And it was a powerful ceremony because people were given the opportunity of their own free will and choice to participate in the remembering. Not the remembering of their family name that came from a city built by humans, but the remembering that they are children of the earth. And even though you might call yourself a starseed, you are here now. So we all, starseeds and earth beings, are children of this earth that is nurturing you, mothering you, creating you, healing you, comforting you, giving you opportunities to be struck in awe and wonder, giving you opportunities to learn if you will listen, if you are willing to observe and not live out of your poetic idea of what life is. This does not mean I don't believe in poetry. I love poetry. But many times people are existing in this romanticized notion that actually does not allow them to connect to their home. So let us take our 3 breaths in and out through the nose. And checking in with our body in this time and place. In and out through the nose. Checking in with our essence in this time and place. In and out through the nose, checking in with our mind. And as we bring them back, let's ask them these 3 questions. In this moment now, how is your mind doing physically, mentally, and emotionally? In this moment now, how is your body doing physically, mentally, and emotionally? In this moment now, how is your essence doing physically, mentally, and emotionally? And take your time. You need to pause this and journal, or just pause and come back. Really do a good check-in. Now, when we do check-ins in my class, we try to do it really quick. We call them brain drains or body drains. We just try to dump the information, not get lost too much. You want a quick check-in. Now that you have that information, where are you in relationship to your I am? I am land, I am ocean, I am river, I am stream, I am nopal. My hope today that this conversation we're having you invites you to have a real practice of creation and connection that is not some fantastical, fictional way of being, but how you can be here now, mothered and mothering. Today, may your meditation, we're not going to do one here, be a meditation that you go out. Go out and walk upon the land that nurtures you, even if you're in a big city. If you're homebound, look to see if there are things in your home that you can connect to if you have a wooden table or chair. And if you want to go a step further, look where you were born and then find the river, lake, or stream, mountain, gorge, canyon, whatever of the defining, and start creating relationship. Go and talk to it. Give it offerings. Say thank you. Sing it a song. Build relationship. And as you build relationship, there will be more co-creation and you will come home as you allow these rivers, lakes, streams, gorges, mountaintops, volcanoes to mother you back in your remembering. And with that, we thank all of the elements in the directions of the east, the south, the west, and the north. Water, fire, wind, and land that hold us as we close this circle, releasing that sky root from the sun, which we need, releasing that earth root from Mother Earth as we exit this circle. Shade. Thank you everyone so much. I hope to see you in another circle soon. We have some upcoming classes going on with Angel Deer, so stay tuned for the launch of Rockstar School and stay tuned for more circles that you can join. If you want to reach out to me, you can find me on Instagram, and I hope to see you in a live circle soon via Zoom, or there are a lot of fun things happening in Melbourne, Australia. So reach out to Ash Bell at Ash Bell Official, and they can keep you up to date with those happenings. Again, if you're enjoyed these podcasts and have found yourself listening to them and being good medicine, we'd love for you to support becoming a Patreon. You can even just do $5 a month. That would make a huge difference to supporting living Indigenous voices. We hope to see you next podcast, next time, as you walk your path of remembering and revolution to yourself. Shade. Once again, it is with deepest gratitude that I bow to you for joining me on this podcast, this episode, this circle, this plática, this meditation, this remembering. I hope that you have stayed curious. I hope to see you in the circle again next week. So make sure that you like or follow. Until then, may you be blessed with abundance of peace and radical self-love.